Welcome to the Love Intervention. I'm Pastor Evans.
I'm Mrs. Evans.
And if you haven't been with us before, the Love Intervention is a Christian perspective on dating, courtship, and marriage. Now listen, neither one of us are licensed therapists, but we have been married for quite a while, and we wanted to share what we know from our time together and from the time that we have been spending talking with other couples. So we're going to give you some tips and snips. But if you need more counseling after you walk through these times with us, please consult a professional. Right. So today's topic is what we learn from our friendships.
What we learn from our friendships?
About our loving relationships. So we're in the middle of a series that we like to call the Foundations of Love. We've already talked about what we learned from our parents about our loving relationships. We've already talked about what we learned from our siblings about our loving relationships. So today we're in what we learned from our friendships. As always, like the video if you like it. And you know what? If you don't like it anyway. And share it, and so that the information can get out there, because we believe it's good for everybody and every couple. Subscribe to our channel, The Love Intervention, and hit the notification bell so you'll know when the next video is about to be released. Now, let's get into our topic. Let's go.
Okay. Do we believe that how we love is affected by our social relationships or friendships? So do we believe that how we love, how we choose to love, how we choose to get into romantic relationships is affected by social relationships and or our friendships?
Very cool. That is our question of the day. If you want to comment on that question, answer the question, we'll have a good discussion about that as we move forward. Let's get into the rest of the content. So we talked about siblings before. We talked about how we learn how to love from our siblings. So friendships then can provide us with a bunch of different information. Here's just a few things that I feel like friendships can help us in when we start having these loving relationships and these romantic relationships. All right. So friendships can provide you insight into how other people see you. If you have a good friend, they will tell you about yourself, and you might think that that you're one way. They may tell you something else, right? And friendships can give you honest feedback about yourself, about your relationship, and about the way that you communicate. And friendships can help teach us strategies for interaction, right?
Right. So in my research with this specific topic, I came up with two areas that I wanted to mention. One being conflict, and the other one being confidence.
Right. Conflict and confidence. Very good.
And in regard to what you were just saying, I read a quote. It was in an article from Reader's Digest. And the article is entitled, "The Most Important Person in Your Relationship May Not Be Your Partner." And the quote says, "Relationships act as a type of mirror." And that's what you were talking about. And having different relationships not only helps us see ourselves from different perspectives. So that was exactly what you were just talking about right now, about how that gives us insight, honest feedback, and strategies for interaction.
Right.
And so how we deal with conflict as we mature and grow, and as we develop loving relationship is a direct reflection of how we either develop a way to deal with conflict or how we avoid conflict in these chosen relationships, because we choose our friends.
Right. Yeah. So like when we're talking about siblings, you have to figure out how to interact. You have to figure out how to work through conflict with your brothers and sisters, because they're your brother and sister. You're going to have that relationship your entire life. But like you said, these friendships are really the first time you get to choose who you interact with.
Right.
Your parents, you don't get to choose your parents. Your brothers and sisters, you don't get. Some people want to choose their parents, right?
Right.
Some people want to choose their brothers and sisters too. And we have to work through all those things. But as we're developing and as we're trying to figure out who we are, we get to pick these friends that help us develop and grow in that way. Yeah. So, and these non-romantic friendships help us develop, are vital to helping us grow emotionally, right? Because you'll have conflict with your friends, and you'll have conflict with other people, and you figure out how best to work through that, right? So,
right.
I like the quote about relationships being a mirror to who we are, so you can get different perspectives on who you are and how you act and react in different ways, right? Because if you choose to hang out with someone, you choose to have this friend. Now, when you come across conflict, you may not want to hang out with them anymore.
Right.
I'm sure people stop talking to their friends if they have conflict that they can't work through. You don't have that option with your siblings.
Right.
But with friends, you start to figure out, is this something that I want to continue past this conflict, right? And they may tell you about yourself.
Right.
Right? They may say, you know what, I don't want to hang out with you no more. I don't want to deal with you anymore. And those type of developments, that type of emotional growth is going to be critical when we're trying to develop romantic relationships.
Right, and not only conflict plays a role there, but you start to develop ways of valuing different people and valuing their opinion about you.
Right. Well, yeah, because you might not want to hear something somebody says, right? But if you value their opinion, now you have to be introspective about what they said.
Right.
Well, you don't have to.
I mean,
You
but
probably should, though.
I guess it depends.
All right. So not only conflict do we learn in our friendships, we learn confidence, right?
Right.
So you had a quote about that.
Yeah, well, also in the article, which was by or from Reader's Digest, it said, in fulfilling partnerships, we are not codependent, dependent, or even entirely independent. We are interdependent. There is a giving and receiving and a flow. By cultivating and participating in other friendships and relationships, we can know ourselves more deeply, enjoy our lives more fully, then come back to our primary partnership, which is romantic relationships, or friendships that will be romantic relationships, with a greater sense of self-awareness, personal satisfaction, and authentic appreciation for ourselves, our partner, and our partnerships.
Right.
In my opinion, this plays an important part in how we view ourselves. Once we are comfortable with who we are and how we live our lives, confidence grows. This confidence, or the lack of either, attracts people to us or runs people away from us.
Right. Yeah. So choosing your friends becomes extremely important to your development.
Right.
Yeah. There's a quote that says, if you show me your friends, I'll show you who you are, right? So choosing your friends becomes important to your emotional development, your confidence, your emotional development, your confidence, and the way you resolve conflict. All those things are going to be extremely critical if you ever want to be in a relationship with somebody romantically, right? Because if you're not confident, who wants to be around folks like it's tough to be in a relationship with somebody who's constantly, second guessing themselves, right?
Right.
Yeah. And it's tough to be in a relationship with somebody that's going to be extremely critical, right?
Right.
Because nobody wants to be criticized all the time. So you got to develop those things in your friendships.
Right.
Right. So as we choose friends, we want to choose friends that, can help us develop. And you may not have ever thought about that. You may not have ever thought about the fact that the friends that you had throughout your life have shaped and molded who you are. But if you take a little bit of time to think about it, the people who you chose to spend time with, you chose to spend time with them for a reason. And they may have shaped and molded your opinions about certain things. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't choose the best friends. Sometimes we choose friends that bring us down. Sometimes we choose friends that don't uplift us. And it'll be important for us as we're continuing to grow and continuing to try to develop and learn how to love, to choose friends that uplift us. Because then if we can do that in our friendships, it may be more easy to do that in our romantic relationships. So that gives us that practice. So what we learn, that's another thing, and one last thing that we can learn from our friendships.
Right.
Right.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So what does God say about these friendships or relationships?
Right. So in Proverbs 27, God tells us that iron sharpens iron. So a man sharpens another man. And what that is saying to us, I believe, is that as we continue to grow, we want to choose friends that help us develop and help us get better, right? So as we grow and as we spend time together, we can sharpen each other and we can get better together, right?
In 1 Corinthians 15:33, it reads, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character."
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones because that goes back to what we were just talking about, choosing your friends, right? And you don't want to spend time with folks that are going to inevitably be an issue for you, right? Bad company corrupts good character. You might want to do the right thing,
right?
But we've all been around folks that are fun, but they lead us into the wrong area, right?
Right.
At the end of Proverbs 18, the word says, "A man who has too many friends comes to ruin, but there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother." Sometimes your friends will be there when your brother won't. And this particular scripture is talking about the Lord, but you need to pick good friends. That's what we're trying to. That's what we're trying to get you to understand. You need to pick good friends. And then finally, in John 15, it said, "Greater love has no one than this, than one who would lay down his life for his friends."
Right.
Now, you don't want your friends necessarily to lay down their life for you. Hopefully, you're not in those type of situations. But if your friend will lay down their life or lay out their life for you so that you can learn how to love and grow, that could be a great relationship for you to have, right?
Or if they choose to lay down their old self and pick up a new self in Christ, that would be good too.
That would be good too. All right. So today we talked about what we learned about our loving romantic relationships, how we develop the way to love through working with and talking with and walking with our friends.
And so as you spend time in reflecting on your life, the love that you've had in your life as it relates to family, friends, we would just like for you to keep in mind these things that we've talked about today and the things that we've talked about in our other videos, so that you can become a better self for you, yourself, and for your partner and your families.
Very cool. Well, thank you for joining us on The Love Intervention. I'm Pastor Evans.
I'm Mrs. Evans.
So don't forget to like this video, share it if you think it was helpful, share it if you don't think it was helpful.
Right.
Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll know when the next video is released.
Right.
Right.
See you next time.